And joining me now is Syrian activist and academic Dr. Rifaie Tammas, who worked as a citizen journalist in 2012 and 2013, reporting on the uprising, the Arab Spring, from his hometown of Qusair. Thanks so much for your time looking back at those pictures and just the murderous regime that Bashar al-Assad led for so long. How do you feel today?
Thank you for having me. Overjoyed doesn't even begin to describe how I'm feeling. Relief that the dark old chapter of the Assad dynasty is over, and now we can actually begin a new chapter. Feeling hope, a lot of hope. We're really hopeful and optimistic, especially given there have been a lot of positive signs in the last 12 days. Like the implications, the real life implications for Syrians around the world, inside Syria, outside Syria, the millions of Syrians who can now begin going back and meeting their family members, contributing to their country, rebuilding their country. As you know, as long as Assad was in power, there was no way to begin that process. So now that he's over, of course there will be challenges. We're aware of the challenges. There will be a lot of unknowns, but at least now we can begin. The fact that now we can, political prisoners, thousands of them have been released, families being reunited, shelling stopping, violence being reduced. These are all great wins for human rights, for Syrians, for the regional countries. And I think I can't help but think of my dad, my late dad, who was killed in the Assad shelling on my hometown. My uncle, who also died while transporting civilians. My brother was shot dead when we were leaving, evacuating. So this is the kind of things where can't help but think of them and think of how they would feel at this moment. So I guess the price of all this wasn't cheap. This is a lot of sacrifices were laid along the way for this very moment. It's crazy.
Rifaie, this is just not some esoteric, faraway world event for you, as you've just laid out. This is something that you have lived. And we also know that Assad was known as the butcher of Syria for so long. In that Arab uprising alone, we know of some 300,000 people he murdered. But your brother was among them.
Absolutely, yeah. Over 500,000, according to some estimates, even. And the figures are even modest. So that's the reality of the situation. We just don't know. The hundreds of thousands been detained. This is forcibly disappeared. There is a fate of thousands that we still don't know. Right now, they're digging through Sadnaya prison, one of the notorious prisons in Syria, and they're sending in rescue efforts to dig deeper into the chambers after chamber to rescue the prisoners. My brother, before he was killed, he was even imprisoned for 20 hours, 24 hours. And that was just enough for him to be cut. You can just imagine, I remember seeing him for the first time after he was released. And he had nothing to do even, he wasn't even at that point protesting. But the fact that he was in the same building as some other students, he was a student at the university. And the fact that he shared the same room building as others who were protesting, that was enough for the regime to take him, torture him, and then release him. Obviously, we have thousands of people who were not lucky enough to be released, who were tortured for far longer. I think this is definitely one of those moments where you can't help but feel, okay, it's over. It's over. We can be now celebrate because of all of the horrors that we've experienced. And I think, obviously, a lot of us, a lot of activists, or I should say, a lot of analysts in the West have warned about this moment, have talked about chaos, have talked about bloodshed, have talked about how the Assad regime, once they fall, then everything's going to become chaotic. And of course, there will be chaos. We shouldn't deny that in any transitional period, there will be chaotic moments. We look at the last 12 days and how the overtake of towns after town and how peaceful that was, and how there wasn't as much bloodshed as even over a week of the Assad regime shelling. That really tells you something. That's something to be hopeful about. Hopefully it continues like these positive signs we're seeing. But if not, I'm also hopeful that Syrians have learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way over the 14 years or even 50 years of the Assad dynasty that will equip us to really deal with any challenges.
Well, I hope so for you, your family and your friends. Really appreciate your time this morning because it is certainly a profound moment in the Middle East. Rifaie, thanks.